Hello again! After taking a look at Hungary's rearmament and territorial expansion, it's time to discuss the country's entry into World War II. Although it was not originally planned, Hungary did join Operation Barbarossa and sent its best units, the Rapid Corps, along with other troops to fight in Ukraine. They soon regretted this decision after realizing that exiting the war was more difficult. German planners did not anticipate Hungarian involvement. After invading the Soviet Union on the 22nd of June 1941, they simply told their ally that any help would be welcome, but it was not necessary. However, after a few days, it became obvious that a gap developed between the German forces attacking from Poland and their German and Romanian counterparts that invaded Ukraine from Romania. At the same time, unidentified planes bombed two Hungarian cities and strafed a train near the Soviet border. We don't know who they were, but on the same day, on the 27th of June, Hungary declared war and ordered its armed forces to defend the homeland. The Rapid Corps, which consisted of the mobile units of the army, was mobilized. It included two motorized and one cavalry brigade, but to defend the border and screen the corps, the 1st Mountain Brigade and the 8th Border Guard Brigade were sent there. The latter was reinforced with two bicycle battalions and one artillery regiment. 8th Corps, which was located in this region, assumed command. It was upgraded to the Karpat Group, named after the Carpathian Mountains. Together with support units, it now had more than 90,000 troops, along with almost 6,000 trucks, 3,000 carts, 21,000 horses, and an Air Force brigade. The bicycle battalions of the motorized brigades were being converted into armored battalions, but due to a lack of tanks, progress was slow. Nonetheless, the Karpat Group had 60 L3 tankettes and 81 Toldi light tanks, together with 3 companies of Csaba armored cars. While the Germans were attacking Lvov, the Hungarian Air Force bombed the nearby towns and the Karpat Group initiated offensive operations targeting Kolomea and Stanislavov. Once the narrow passes of the Carpathian Mountains were behind them, which took a few days, the Rapid Corps was able to advance quickly, leaving behind the much slower 1st Mountain and 8th Border Guard Brigades. After the fall of Tatarov, resistance was minimal, but weather was slowing down the Hungarian advance. The Dniester River was reached in early July, contact was made with German 17th Army, and the Dniester was crossed over a partially destroyed bridge at Zaleseiki. Both motorized brigades caught up to the infantry by now, and on the 9th of July, the old Polish border was crossed. On the same day, realizing the great difference in speed between its various units, the Karpat Group was disbanded. The much slower Mountain and Border Guard brigades were left behind to mop up remnants of Soviet troops, while Rapid Corps was assigned to 17th Army. It had 44,000 troops, with over 7,000 horses, 1,000 carts, and over 4,000 vehicles. Now under German command, its units were not allowed to rest. Instead, they were ordered to advance with 1st Panzer Group. On the 21st of July, they reached the Bug River, several towns were taken, and Soviet troops were beaten. At Bechara, 21 tanks were destroyed, 250 soldiers captured, while German POWs were liberated, although 12 tanks and 3 armored cars were lost. The Germans wanted to capture all Soviet troops at Uman. Rapid Corps had to advance along the Bug to reach Golovanesk and close a 40-kilometer gap to prevent the Soviet breakout. This they did. The line held against attacks from 3 directions, and the battle ended with a total Soviet defeat. Their trapped forces had to surrender. Losses of Rapid Corps reached 1,000. Rest and repairs were badly needed, but another battle followed in mid-August. Together with 16th Panzer Division, capturing Nikolaev was the next objective, which was defended by 2 Soviet divisions. Advance was slowed down by a lack of fuel. Stiff Soviet resistance prevented a quick victory. The defenders repelled several attacks, but then tried to break out to the east, where the 1st Cavalry and 1st Motorized Brigade were sent to prevent their escape. They advanced slowly, parts of the Soviet force were able to retreat, the rest was captured. Casualties now reached 2,000, so 1 week of rest followed. Then Rapid Corps was sent to the Dnieper River, 450 kilometers to the east, to defend a 200-kilometer wide sector near Zaporozhye, with its already understrength brigades. In the next 6 weeks, several strong Soviet attacks were repelled. The line was reduced to 150 kilometers. By early October, another 700 casualties were reported, along with 700 sick, who were sent back to Hungary. Rapid Corps was now below 50% effective strength. Losses of heavy equipment were severe, although most tanks were recovered. Weather and road conditions inflicted more damage than the actual fighting. Bicycles were useless in Ukraine. Horses were collapsing after long marches, while trucks were being lost every day. The Corps' air troops, with Fiat CR-42 and the new Heya fighters, along with Caproni CA-135 bombers, were able to provide some support, but this small unit could not achieve air superiority in their sector. Chief of Staff General Wert recommended to the cabinet that Hungary increase its participation in the war. The Prime Minister took this opportunity to curb the increasing power of the military and demanded his resignation. He was replaced with General Szombathely, former commander of Karpat Group, who was more cautious regarding final Axis victory and wanted to preserve the army for home defense. Already in early September, a request was sent to General Halder regarding the recall of all Hungarian troops, but this was dismissed outright. Admiral Horthy then visited Hitler in East Prussia. During their talks, Hitler proposed a compromise. 1st Cavalry Brigade could return to Hungary immediately, while the 2 motorized brigades would stay for now, until 4 security brigades arrived from Hungary for occupation purposes. After that, all original Hungarian units would leave Russia. Rapid Corps joined the German advance on Izium in mid-October, but muddy and non-existent roads made things very difficult. Vehicles got stuck. The last part of the advance was made on foot. The Donets River was reached at the end of October, when winter set in, with temperatures plunging to minus 18 degrees Celsius. In early November, Rapid Corps was finally relieved and transported back to Hungary. During the campaign, they advanced 1,800 kilometers, capturing 17,000 prisoners, losing 1,200 motor vehicles and almost all the armor, although most tanks could be repaired. Casualties reached 3,000 men, but the former Karpat Group lost 8,000 troops overall, roughly 10% of its strength. Both the Germans and the Hungarians were pleased with the performance of Rapid Corps, but the above losses in equipment were impossible to replace. Artillery pieces and light tanks could be manufactured, but producing more trucks was difficult as industrial capacity was reserved for the new Turán-1 medium tanks. These were needed for the Army's new concept, which called for the creation of 2 armored and 1 cavalry divisions, with all 3 being mechanized formations. The plan required 191 Turán medium tanks, 204 Toldi light tanks, 36 Nimrod tank hunters, or anti-aircraft vehicles, and 54 Csaba armored cars. The existing bicycle battalions were converted to tank battalions, but they lacked the necessary armor. They only received a few tanks for training purposes. In February 1942, all army brigades were renamed light divisions. Later in that year, Rapid Corps was disbanded. Its motorized brigades were incorporated into the 2 armored divisions, while the Air Force received more Heya fighters based on the Reggiane 2000. However, reorganization was interrupted by a new German request that demanded greater Hungarian participation in the war. Subsequent negotiations resulted in the creation of Second Army, which would be sent to the Eastern Front. I will talk about Second Army and its battles in the next few videos, as it will take more than one episode. See you in the next one.